the KMNN studios, this is the Kids Morning News Network. Good morning, it's June 17th, 2024. I'm Alex in the KMNN studio in New York. I want to start by making a quick correction. Last week, I said the SpaceKids Global Press Squad contest was being extended a week. It's actually been extended 2 weeks, so the new deadline is June 28th. Check out the rules and the amazing trip you could win at SpaceKids.Global. Speaking of space, NASA says that the Starliner won't come back to Earth until Saturday at the earliest. You remember that Starliner is on its first trip to space with a crew. It was delayed a few times on the launch pad before it blasted off. Now it'll be staying in space longer than planned. NASA says this is to run more tests and get things ready for Starliner's return to Earth. Have you heard the story of George Washington chopping down a cherry tree? And then, when his father asked him about it, he said, "I cannot tell a lie"? That didn't really happen, but he does seem to have liked cherries. We know because archaeologists just dug some of them up. A team working to fix up Washington's home in Mount Vernon found 35 bottles buried underground, most of them filled with cherries and other berries. And a lot of them were in perfect condition. This same team found other bottles not long ago with cherry stems and pits. Those were probably full of cherries at some point, but the water in them evaporated and the cherries rotted away. In this new find, the cherries and the spring water they were packed in were amazingly well preserved. It looks like the fruit was put in the bottles and then buried in a pit in the basement to help preserve them. Remember, this is before refrigerators were invented. Burying things underground helped keep them cool. Sometime after the pit was covered, a brick floor was put down in the basement. For some reason, it looks like they forgot the bottles were still buried. Fortunately, we do have refrigerators now, and that's where archaeologists are putting the cherries and the berries after they pour them out of the bottles. Everything should stay fresh until there's time to carefully examine each one. The team hopes that some of the cherry pits might even be grown into cherry trees. Possibly give us a taste of what George Washington enjoyed 250 years ago. Two giant asteroids smashed into each other recently and created an enormous cloud of dust as fine as powdered sugar and about 900,000 miles wide. That's a lot of dust. But put away the vacuum, we're safe. This happened in the Beta Pictoris system, which is about 63 light years away. And the collision was about 20 years ago, but recent in astronomy. This is really cool. Astronomers looked at the Beta Pictoris system 20 years ago and saw a big cloud of dust that they figured was probably there all the time. But when they looked again last year with the James Webb Space Telescope, the cloud was gone. So they realized that seeing the cloud was just a lucky break 20 years ago, and the cloud was from a collision that had only recently happened. This is even more interesting because Beta Pictoris is kind of a young system. Our solar system is about 4.5 billion years old, but Beta Pictoris is only 20 million. Old for a person, but just a teenager for a galaxy. So by watching what happens with this cloud, astronomers get to see how a system takes shape. It's a planetary system that's not fully cooked. A half-baked system, covered in a cloud of powdered sugar. Now I know what I want for breakfast. It's riddle time. Friday's riddle was, I have hands that can't hold anything and a face that can't smile. What am I? Answer, a clock. Today's riddle is, if a bear walks 1 mile south, 1 mile east, and 1 mile north, and ends up right back where it started, what color is the bear? This is a tricky one, I'll admit. So if a bear walks 1 mile south, 1 mile east and 1 mile north, and ends up right back where it started. What color is that bear? Give you the answer on Wednesday. On this day in 1885, a French ship sailed into New York Harbor carrying a whole bunch of crates, and I mean a whole bunch, more than 200. Inside those crates was a present from France, the country, to the United States, the country. You didn't know countries got each other presents, did you? Kind of like when you get Legos, this present had to be put together, and that took more than a year. When it was done, the 225-ton, 300-foot-high Statue of Liberty towered over New York Harbor, with a raised torch in one hand and a tablet, not a tablet computer, just a tablet, that says July 4th, 1776 in Roman numerals, in honor of the Declaration of Independence. Now, a lot of people think something else is written on the tablet, lines from a poem. And that's a little bit of a story. It took years to get the statue built, and it took a lot of money. There were fundraising events, kind of like selling cookies today. For one art show, the poet Emma Lazarus was asked to write a poem that would be featured in the exhibition. Back then, poets were celebrities, kind of like musicians are now. She said, "No way, I can't write a poem about a statue." Meanwhile, she was volunteering with refugees who were, just like today, coming to this country with nothing. And she thought, hey, maybe writing about refugees would work for this Statue of Liberty art show. Now, the poem she wrote included the lines, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." And today, that poem is on a plaque at the base of the statue. But many people think those lines are actually on the tablet. Now, you can win your next Statue of Liberty trivia contest. And here's one more little bit of Statue of Liberty trivia. You don't know this unless you're looking at Lady Liberty's back. She's actually walking. Yes, you see one foot coming up to take a step. Somebody better tell her that there's a whole harbor right in front of her. And Monday weather, maybe your first day of summer vacation, maybe one of your last days of the school year. You're going to have clear skies almost everywhere in the country except around the Great Lakes, the Northwest Coast, and the Gulf Coast. There's going to be a lot of hot weather this week, and not just in the Southwest. The heat is stretching all the way across the country to the east as well, so keep cool. So up in the Rockies, on the Idaho-Montana border, look for wintry weather because, it's the Rockies and it's Idaho and Montana. All right, that's the show. Thank you very much for listening. Hey, if you like this episode, please subscribe to this podcast. And grown-ups, if you'd like to become a supporter, there is a link in the episode description. I'll be back on Wednesday, and I hope you are too. From the KMNN Newsroom, this is Alex, signing off.